It's time for your daily dose of all things Chicago sports. This is the Daily Score. Now, here's your host, Mark Grote.
Oh, man, things are starting to get real. Real as in the preseason is over. Training camp, it is officially over now. And we as media members, we realize that more than anybody because we have officially entered the glimpse portion of practice up until this very day, this very moment that you probably are listening to or watching this podcast. We were allowed to watch the entire practice, in many cases, report on exactly what happened. Sometimes in real time, we were allowed to report what was going on. But now we get to go out there, see who is essentially we get to take attendance of, who's there and who's not there, which is valuable. Get a few videos. So you can definitely expect me to do that. But we're just not going to have the same detail. This is where we depend on the players and the coaches to really let us know what's going down. By Tuesday at 3:00, the teams must have their 53-man roster set. So it's going to be a big and interesting week at Haugh. Today, I want to focus on a couple of rookies, a couple of really important rookies. We've talked about these guys in the past. I think I did a show on these guys very early on in camp. But now it's time to get the post-preseason game report from both Zacch Pickens and Gervon Dexter. The second-round pick Dexter out of Florida, the third-round pick Pickens out of South Carolina. And I thought Zacch Pickens said something very interesting when he was asked what he has learned through 3 games.
That I belong here. Everything that I've seen, everything the coaches showed me that I belong here. I had a few doubts about myself a little bit because I didn't know what was going to happen, but my confidence really just stuck out and had my back the whole way.
When did you think you first got confident if you had doubts coming in? What was it that?
When I first came in for practice, I was like, oh, man, I don't know, because I was a little rusty and I was afraid that I wasn't meeting my expectations, so that's why I was like a little nervous, but all that went away after I kept on practicing.
Do you mean training camp, or do you mean like rookie minicamp?
Rookie minicamp, training camp, everything. So my confidence started going up after each practice.
What was the moment where you kind of exhaled and were like, okay, I'm good, I belong here, I don't have to worry about this anymore?
Our first game, I felt like I was doing a lot of stuff better than I was in practice. I started recognizing stuff quicker than what I was doing, and I just started going off that.
Is there a difference for you just getting on the field and playing versus practicing in terms of maybe overthinking things or feeling more comfortable? Like, what is that difference between like that first game versus all the practices?
I guess you kind of know what's going to happen in the games because we break it down. We show what they're going to run with their top runs in practice. It's a free game, so it's like they can do whatever they want. So that's kind of like the difference to me.
I have to believe that there are a lot of players, a lot of rookies who feel the exact same way that Zacch Pickens was feeling, but you don't typically hear these guys reveal that kind of stuff because it's being vulnerable, and that's what Zacch Pickens was being right there. I think he's had a pretty good training camp, a pretty good preseason. Not everybody agrees with that. I had talked to Anthony Herron earlier, who was on the midday show with Bernstein and Holmes, the show which our executive producer Ray Diaz also executively produces, and he was pretty. And Herron's a guy that played the defensive line, and sounds like the way he was talking, both Dexter and Pickens got a little ways to go still in terms of getting off the block. So that is for real, especially watching Gervon Dexter. And I think I expect more out of him, maybe not just because he's a second-round pick, because he's a massive human being who is quick and he is fast. So I have higher expectations for him. While we are on Dexter, he was asked the same question in terms of what have you learned through 3 preseason games?
I think my mentality always was to prove people wrong since I got here. I definitely had a couple moments where I realized, I can play in this league and do well in this league. So.
You had to prove people wrong. Did you sense a lot of doubt?
Yeah, I went second round, so yeah, that was enough for me to show people.
Should have been first round.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
How different of a player are you even now to what you were in college?
Oh, yeah, completely opposite player now. I mean, like getting off the ball, playing vertical, and learning how to do some of those things. Even my rush ability has turned a whole different level. So,
like lean on athletic ability more in college. It just seems like that's a natural thing, and then you come up here and you realize it takes more than that. Have you come to that kind of realization?
Right, yeah, of course. I think like a guy like me, where I can win some one-on-ones just with my God given. But now there's guys who's just as big and just as strong. So it's technique versus technique.
Yeah, I don't know if he is showing and producing, completely opposite, as he said, as when he was at Florida, where he didn't have like eye-popping numbers by any means, but they are certainly asking him to do a lot of things differently. And he's got a lot of God-given ability for sure. I love the fact that, and I don't think I had heard that personally before. Maybe he has said it before. I'm sure he probably has. Every guy wants to be a first-round pick, especially if you're a second-round pick. You tend to think you should have been a first-round pick. But I never heard him say that. I guess he's got the proverbial chip on his shoulder right now, and but he's still got a little ways to go in terms of getting himself back together. Things have, not changed in terms of the backup quarterback situation. PJ Walker was cut. Tyson Bagent. Nobody told us anything differently at Haugh Hall. We'll talk to Matt Eberflus on Wednesday. He may be able to solidify and say, yeah, that's what we're going with, because a lot of people want to know, are the Bears going to maybe bring in a veteran quarterback to actually be the backup quarterback? All signs still point towards Tyson Bagent being the guy, being the primary backup. And I've been saying it on the shows on the Score all day. And that is the reason that here's how I've squared it up. Because, if you've been listening, like I have been late to the party on Tyson Bagent in terms of actually thinking that this would happen. And actually, I'm sure that there's a lot of my fellow reporters were the same, that we did not expect Tyson Bagent to be the primary backup. But you think about Bears backups of the past and think about them then and Tyson Bagent now. Which one of those guys would you prefer to see go in a game? Chase Daniel or Tyson Bagent? If all things were equal, we saw what Chase Daniel did, and there was nothing about him that was interesting or productive. Why not roll the dice? Todd Collins' name keeps coming to my brain for some reason. Caleb Haney comes to my brain. Who would you rather go with the long time, been in the league, Andy Dalton for a decade, or take a chance on a guy who, yes, is from a Division II school, does not have the track record, got some things going against him in that regard, but we've seen it, and this is not necessarily unique to the Bears either. Backup quarterbacks in the NFL are a serious downgrade almost always from your number one quarterback. We've seen some loud exceptions for sure through the years where a guy comes in and it turns out he could actually start and play in the league, but it doesn't happen very often. So why not try to look at things a little bit differently? So that's the way I've been able to square things up, just thinking about the past traumas of Chicago Bears backup quarterbacks, and it has not been pretty. You know it, I know it, we all absolutely know it. Last thing I'll tell you, we are going to talk to Matt Eberflus on Wednesday. Doubtful that he's going to give us anything really clear about the injuries, but seeing Tevin Jenkins hobble out of the locker room and Doug Kramer leave the locker room with a cast on his right arm, there might be some more week to week or maybe even a month to month update on somebody like Tevin Jenkins, the way I saw it in a brief conversation I had with Eddie Jackson in the locker room. I don't remember the exact words that he used, but I'll just say that it would be absolutely shocking if Eddie Jackson does not play in the Green Bay game unless something new happens along the way. But hopefully he will be good to go, and hopefully a lot of these guys who have been sitting out will be good to go by September 10th when the Green Bay Packers are here for a 3:00 game at Soldier Field. That's going to do it for today. We will talk to you tomorrow on the Daily Score. For my guy Ray Diaz, executive producing the show, I'm Mark Grote, and we will talk to you later.